Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name is Lorene. I'm talking to you from our dock. And behind me here is the bridge that joins this side of a peninsula. Take the road all the way across, and behind my head and over here, and it's going to join you to a different peninsula. And this was once an island, and they used the end of our piece of land to anchor the road to. So we might see some cars going through, but the cool thing about this bridge is the water's coming. Oh, is it coming in or going out? It's coming in. So as time goes by, we'll hear more water noise, and which is the part that I really love about this location, because it's kind of like having a brook, but without the, you get breaks from it, so it's kind of nice. You never know when you're going to hear something. And this is a spot where when the water gets really, really rough, we have a group of mergansers who really like to skid through it. So they'll get at the top of whichever direction the water is rushing, and they'll swoosh under the bridge and then take off and quack, 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 quack. But they've got a slightly different quack than the brown ducks. So we always know we call them the merganser teenagers, and they're always fooling around. They're kind of fun. So I'm here today to talk to you about the 3 books that we've been reading. The first one is Terry Pratchett's Mort. I'm kind of close to the camera today because I want to be within grabbing distance. It's not a small dock, and so if something happens, then I need to be able to grab the screen. So I'm not sure if I can show you the dock itself. Let me see. Yeah, that's just the edge. It's pretty, taking our lives. So the dock leads out to a rock, and that's quite a nice rock. And my husband and the cat like to come down here first thing in the morning when the sun's on this side, and that's when they like to do their reading. And I like to come towards the end of the day when there's no sun on this side. It's quite nice. Well, anyhow, back to Terry Pratchett. Mort is the 4th in the Discworld series, but I think that's good now. Good focus. It's the 1st in the Death series. I meant to look that up. We don't have any internet here, so I meant to check that in the library today, but the library doesn't have any air conditioning, and it was 82 degrees in there. Like, all my brain went to dead. So this is Death comes to us all. When he came to Mort, he offered him a job. Henceforth, death is no longer going to be the end, merely the means to an end. It's an offer Mort can't refuse. As Death's apprentice, he'll have free board, use of the company horse, and being dead isn't compulsory. It's a dream job, until he discovers it can be a killer on his love life. So if you are a Terry Pratchett fan, you should like this. It's really been quite hilarious. Death is trying to figure out why humans, since his relationship is primarily with humans, why humans value and think and react the way they do. So he's decided to go and explore things like fishing, or he becomes a short order cook for a little while, and he enjoys eating, but the rest of the things that involve an emotional response, he really doesn't have much of a grasp of. So he's trying to get a sense of what that's all about. So Mort is supposed to, over time, he's supposed to take on Death's duties when Death is exploring these things, going on a bit of a vacation. And Death has 2 people that he's brought up with him into his sort of ether world, as it is. And one is Isabel, spelt with a Y, Yisabel, who is his daughter, but has been his 16-year-old daughter for a couple of decades. And the other one is Arthur, who we gradually find out has an agenda of his own by being Death's what would you call it, sort of jack of all trades around the place, keeping the horse fed and so on. There's the horse Binky. And Mort, as he gets stronger in his knowledge of what it is that Death does, starts to become very, very much like Death himself, but that's not really possible because Death is an entity and Mort isn't. So there's lots of really interesting conundrums, and we meet some really interesting tertiary characters along the way. There's some really funny responses to Death once people are dead, kind of a different you know, like you have one kind of behavior before you're dead, you respond differently. So that's another part that's interesting in the story. Anyways, we did this as a read aloud, and it doesn't have that many chapters, or if there are any chapters, can't even remember. No, they're just pauses, and so you can get really embroiled into it. And really, I like to knit when we're doing the read aloud. So, but in the summertime, I'm the one who reads Terry Pratchett, and then Steve usually reads the is it Colin Cotterill, Doctor Series, the series about series about Dr. Siri, Siri. And so anyways, we'll talk about that. Loved this. Of course, I really do like Terry Pratchett, so he's turning out to be, you know, really a tried and true bestseller for us. So the other one I read is The Passion of Dulce by Julie Berry. I had talked about a previous one. What was it? The Truth in Me? No, that isn't right. She's written another one that, other books. Huh. Oh, it's gone right out of my head. Well, that's the thing about being up here in the, you know, the internet-less lands, is you can't really check and say, what did I do in my other video? Yep, no, too bad, don't know. Anyhow, The Passion of Dulce is primarily about a young girl, Dulce, who's, I'm going to say she's sort of 16, 17, and in the tradition of mystics, she has come across Jesus, the Lord, and she has mystical engagements with Jesus. Well, so at the time of that this is written, 1240s to 1260s, that sort of thing is just a huge no-no with the church. It's not until later that female mystics are given any kind of credence. But prior to that, anybody who had any kind of mystical direct contact with Jesus was just absolutely wrong. And this is at the time of the beginning of the Inquisitions, but also, which I did not clue into, one of the Third Crusades was the French against the area of the Cathars in the mountains there, and sort of that area between France and Spain, and the stories that we get, if you do world history, the Cathars were a group of people that had quite a different version of Christianity, in that they had more or less a direct connection to the higher powers, and there would be people who were holy people who were more involved in this, more interested in this sort of thing, and they would be revered as the ones who would give blessings and be more direct, and some of them were healers. So whatever, somebody got their nose out of joint and got permission from one of the popes, and the French really did go into these areas and just massacred all kinds of people, just a horrendous cleansing, as it were. And so this is the period of time just slightly after that. And this young girl doesn't really understand. She's privileged. She has no idea of hardships. Everybody's going like, shut your mouth. We don't want to get in trouble, because part of the encouragement to not be a heretic is that if you say something that the church doesn't like, not only are you punished by death, but your lands can be taken away from you, your family can be burned along with you at the stake. And so there's like really, really dangerous times. So this young girl is discovered as being a heretic, but manages to escape. And she thinks it's Jesus' intervention. She comes across these three sisters who are older than her, and I think were probably previous victims of that cathartic moment. And they were traveling with their dad and lived a life of deep poverty and begging and so forth, but somehow managed to get themselves to the point where they have opened a tavern. One of the sisters is the tavern keeper, another sister is a fortune teller, and the third sister is a matchmaker. And so it's kind of these old threads all come together, and they bump out into encountering Dulce as she's escaping, and the story takes off from there. How to protect this girl, how to, if she's really, part of God's message, then just, can you really interfere? So there's a lot of, without getting really Catholic about it, there's some interesting questions of faith and the difference between faith and fear, and faith and interpretation, and whether you can have a direct link to the divine or not. So very interesting subtext, but the adventures themselves are quite interesting. The characters are the three girls involved in the tavern and Dolsa, very interesting characters. Then there are surrounding characters who are also very well drawn, and I would say that generally speaking, over the course of the book, every character we encounter eventually gets really well drawn, and there's a father figure who's really just a lump of lead, and by the end of it he ends up being a pretty interesting character as well. So it was a real page turner. Really enjoyed it. I'm reading it between the chapters of the Stolen Bicycle, so that kind of got set aside for a little while, because this really popped and snorted and just really carried on. It was good. I truly recommend it. It's meant for middle readers, but because the age of the protagonists are sort of, I'm going to say for the most of them, they're early 20s, I would definitely. Dulce's younger, but the other characters are generally much older. So I would think that this is really for a wide range of readers, and some very interesting historical fiction in here too. Of course, you always have to remember it's fiction. And there are some explanations at the back in terms of bibliography, some geography, some language, because she uses some words from Old English and so forth. There's a bit of sort of Frenchy, Spanishy kind of words at times, and there's a very good section on the historical background as well. So I think it's just a really strong book. Okay, the other book that I picked up was completely based on, get this, the bookmark. So at Halifax Public Library, they were using these to help you find a book about dragons. And I thought, oh, that is just so cute. And so I picked this one up. It's called, sorry about that, it's called The Given, and it is by Nandy Taylor. And it's a new to me publisher, Wattpad Books. And once I get back to the real world, I will find out what that means. It was published in 2020, and I don't think this is her first book, but what this book does not do is give us the names of her previous publications. So again, I can't find that out, but it says her books are an expression of what she always wanted more of growing up: diverse protagonists in speculative settings. Common themes she writes about are growth, courage, and finding one's place in the world. So the main character is Yenny Ajani. She's a princess from the Moonrise Islands. It's sort of a more, I hate the word primitive, so I'm going to say connected to the land tribe, and they definitely have a religious underpinning that is geared to magic, and as well as honor and family, and also political alignments, that the way you align your marriages and all that sort of thing not only have to do with what the gods want, but what the politics of the surrounding tribes are. And so Yenny Ajani's father has become sick with a disease nobody can figure out. It's never been seen before. So she decides to go to the place called Crescent, and this is where they have magical academies, and she's going to try and figure out what magic is needed in order to cure Dad. But and this is taking place in, there is no time frame attached to this. This is speculative, a world in a speculative time, and there are dragons. So she gets to Crescent, and right off the bat meets a big black, hunky-dory dragon, who turns out that he's really impulsive. He's just totally about himself. He's quite self-absorbed, but he's discovered his given, and that's the title of the book. And so that means that they're somehow the gods have determined that these two are meant to be. This dragon entity can transfer into humankind, and the girl Yenia Jenny is strictly human. And but this is a completely acceptable relationship, and as a result, it's likely that they will have one child, which will in turn be a dragon changeling. And of course, he's from Crescent, so he's sort of like the city mouse, and she's from the Moonrise Islands, and she's like the country mouse. But she's a very powerful person in her own rights, with her own magic lore and her own skills as a hunter warrior. He is definitely on the hunter spectrum. Not too good at the magic, but he knows all about dragons. So great adventure, great setting, great dilemma, because she needs to, her first priority is back to the tribe and her family and the health of her dad. That's why she's on this God-inspired, goddess-inspired journey in the first place. So the two cultures are clashing over how magic is accessed, what are the priorities and values. She has no concept of marrying a dragon, and like it's just not even on her radar. If she doesn't succeed at school, at the academy where she needs to learn this magic lore, she will be sent away, and not only will she have failed her family, but she will have failed the gods and goddesses that have sent her on this journey in the first place. So it was another page turner. It's dense. Let me think now. It's about 450 pages. Oh, I just read and read and read. I really enjoyed it. And we've been having a heat wave here for us. I think this is the first day where the breeze is actually palatable. Before there'd be a breeze, but it was just really, really dry breeze. Nova Scotia does not understand heat waves. When we lived in Ontario, we understood heat waves, but here it's like if it gets over 25 degrees, we're all going, ah! So it's been in the 30s, and yeah, we're so I was definitely reading, sweating and reading, and because it was dragons, there's a fire element. So I think all three of these books are totally solid. I know that in the technical side of things, I can't really do much in terms of connecting you up on the doobly-doo below, so you'll have to, if you're inspired, you'll have to do that yourself. I guess my homework when we get back to town is to find out if there are more books by Nandy Taylor and search for those. And I think I'm also going to get another Julie Berry book. I'm pretty sure there's another one. I just cannot remember the first one. So I hope that your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true, and that you're having a really good summer. And if there's a heat wave, that you're close to some kind of cool breeze or ice pack or cold water in a pail. That's our air conditioner. We put our feet into the pail and take turns heating up the water. So take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.